Welcome to today's webinar. My name is Nick. I am joined today by my colleague Raleigh. We are both member services specialists at the Mechanical Licensing Collective. We are both excited to educate you all on what we do here at the MLC and answer any questions that you have. Once again, today's webinar is primarily focused on the self-administered songwriter. So if you are a publisher or administrator, you're more than welcome to stay. But wanted to point out that we do have a different Q&A webinar for publishers and administrators that might be a little bit more helpful for you. You can view upcoming webinars on our website, and we will post a link in the chat. All right. We're going to cover what the MLC does and doesn't do. Then we will jump right into the Q&A portion. Once more, just make sure that any questions that you have, put them in the Q&A box for us. Not the chat. All right. The MLC established and maintains a public database of musical works ownership information. The MLC administers a new blanket license covering mechanical rights available to eligible digital audio services operating in the US. The MLC receives and matches sound recording, usage, reporting data from digital audio services with the MLC's musical works ownership data. The MLC also collects and distributes US digital audio mechanical royalties to music publishers, administrators, foreign CMOs, and self-administered songwriters, composers, and lyricists.
Hey everyone, like Nick said, my name is Raleigh, and I'm going to go over a little bit about what the MLC does not do. So first on that list is administer performance rights or musical works or collect performance royalties. So we are separate from the PROs such as BMI, ASCAP, CSAC, etc. We also do not administer digital performance rights for sound recordings or collect digital performance sound royalties. That's going to be coming from Sound Exchange. We also do not administer mechanical rights or collect mechanical royalties for physical products. So like in the other category, we're only collecting that digital audio mechanical, nothing to do with physical. We also do not administer any licenses or collect any royalties related to the use of musical works in audio-visual products. So nothing visual. We also do not administer licenses or collect royalties for the use of musical works outside of the United States. So that's not to say that if you live outside of the United States that you can't sign up with the MLC, but we're only collecting usage for works that are streamed within the United States, nothing that's streamed outside of the United States, sorry. So again, the MLC does not replace PROs, and we do not replace Sound Exchange. That is a little bit of a brief overview of what we do and do not do. So now we will jump into the Q&A. Whatever questions you have, feel free to throw it in the Q&A box. We'll try and answer all of your questions. Just as a note, if there's anything that we don't cover today or you walk away and still have additional questions, please reach out to our support team. You can find them by email, phone, or chat, and they're available from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Central Time. They're great. You can talk to a real life human. So hopefully if we don't cover anything that you still have questions about today, you can reach out to them, and we'll put that information in the chat as well. So I'm going to stop sharing and let's jump into the Q&A. So the first question is, I just released a new song for distribution a few days ago. Now it's on Spotify, Pandora, etc. I already registered it with my PRO several weeks ago and have its ISWC as well as the ISRC. That's great. We love all those data points. To register it with the MLC, when I search the database, it is not yet found. Should I choose create new work, or should I wait some amount of time for the song to show up in the MLC database and then register it? That's a great question. So when you're looking for a work within the MLC database, we're not pulling that information from the distribution services. So we're not pulling it from any of the CD Babies or DistroKid. We're not pulling it from Spotify, Pandora, or any of the PROs. So the only way that you would see a work that is yours, that is already existing in the MLC database, is if another co-writer of yours, or if you have a publisher or administrator, has registered that work for you or listed you as a co-writer on that work. So if you're not seeing it in the database, there's not going to be any amount of time that passes by that you're going to see it come from Spotify, Pandora, a PRO. You need to register it as a new work. And then say you have 2 or 3 co-writers on that work. If you were to list them as co-writers, then they could go and search that song and claim it because they're now listed as a co-writer, and they just need to input their publishing information. So all that to say is you should go ahead and create it as a new work if you're not already seeing it listed in our database.
Robin asks, I have been registering my works with Harry Fox over the years. Do I need to also register my works with the MLC, or do they automatically and continually transfer over? So just a little bit of background on our relationship with the Harry Fox Agency. Harry Fox Agency, referred to as HFA, they helped us create and maintain our database. HFA is a vendor to the MLC. So if you were previously affiliated with Harry Fox Agency, it's most likely that when you search in the public search, the MLC's public search, which we can add a link to there in the chat, you will see some of your works there listed with your entity or publisher name that you have listed with Harry Fox Agency. But the important part of this is that you do still need to affiliate with the MLC to have access to those works and to have access to collect those royalties. So I suggest, Robin, that you follow our Connect to Collect process, which you can see that on our website as well. It's up, I think it's on the top right hand side. It is a list of steps that you'll need to go through to connect to collect. And you'll sign up using the Harry Fox Agency publisher number. And then if all that information lines up correctly, our system will automatically assign you to that account with Harry Fox Agency. And from there, that's when, if you register works with the MLC, that will automatically reflect in the Harry Fox Agency account and vice versa.
Awesome. Our next question is from Juan. It says, I should be registering only the songs I've written and not ones where I solely have the recording rights, correct? Yes, that is correct. So the MLC is collecting only on the original composition of the work, not on the sound recording. So you should only be registering works that you have the rights to collect on that you've written, not recorded. So nothing should be registered that is solely a cover song, for example. You only want to register works where you are a writer on that work.
Eileen asks, if you use CD Baby Pro for a work, do they take care of registration with MLC? So in short, the answer is yes to that question. So this can apply to a lot of people. This question can. A lot of people will go through like CD Baby or TuneCore to distribute their music, right, as a DIY musician. Now, both TuneCore and CD Baby, these are just examples I'm using, have a service that you can sign up for or opt into where they will register your works with the MLC and collect those royalties on your behalf. Of course, they would be acting as your publishing administrator, so it's not just the MLC that they'll be collecting royalties from. If you're interested in what all they collect on, I would definitely suggest to check out that agreement that you signed with them, as well as contact them if you have additional questions on that. But in short, if you have CD Baby Pro or TuneCore Pro, they will be doing that on your behalf. So Eileen, if you take a look in the MLC's public search, you'll most likely see your works in there with CD Baby Pro listed as the publisher or administrator.
Our next question is from Robin. She says, I'm still confused about the revenue stream coming from MLC, PRO, and my digital distributor. The percentage each one is paying out on a stream. So it can be really confusing, all the different avenues that you have to collect royalties from, especially as an independent songwriter. So the way that you can think about it that helps me is there are two main categories. One is under the musical composition side of things, and the other is the sound recording. And so the MLC and PROs both fall under the musical composition side of the royalties that we're collecting. However, the PROs are collecting performance royalties. And so that includes public performances, as well as the MLC is collecting mechanical royalties, and specifically for the digital audio mechanical royalties, which includes interactive streaming and digital downloads. So the thing with streaming that gets a little bit complicated is that you generate both a performance and a mechanical royalty when a song is streamed. So you're going to be getting both sets of those royalties when a song is streamed. And then for the digital distributor side of things, that's going to be collecting on the sound recording. So the MLC is the original composition as well as the PRO, and then the distributor is the sound recording, the master, as some people say it as well. And the percentage that you're getting paid out per stream is going to be set by the Copyright Royalty Board, and that can be, the rates per stream can vary depending on the specific streaming service. So if you are a member with the MLC, we actually have the rate sheets for all of the different streaming services, which can be helpful to see which individual rate is attached to each streaming service. For the PROs, you'll have to refer to their websites, but for the MLC specifically, we do have those rate sheets. We also do have a great visual that is called the Digital Royalty Landscape, and it kind of breaks down all of the different, at least at a high level overview, the different revenue streams that you should be signed up for as an independent artist. And it'll break it up by the sound recording and the original composition. So we can pop that in the chat. It's really helpful just to kind of see that visually.
We also got a question from Bob. He wants to know the key differences between MLC and Sound Exchange. And Bob, I think that resource will be really helpful for you, the Digital Music Landscape. So I can give you a short, kind of in short, what the differences are. Sound Exchange collects on the performance side, performance royalties for sound recordings, and those get paid out to the copyright owners or the featured artist. And then the MLC, we are going to collect what you keep hearing, the digital audio mechanical royalty. And again, like Raleigh said, that's going to be on the composition side of things. So I suggest taking a look at that landscape. But again, what we collect and pay out on is completely separate from what Sound Exchange does.
And I'll just add on to that as well. The royalties that Sound Exchange is collecting on are for non-interactive performance royalties. So the two biggest streams of revenue that they're pulling from are SiriusXM and Pandora Radio. So whereas when you go to, let's say, Spotify or Apple Music, and you have the subscription where you can choose the song that you want to listen to, that is going to be paid out by the MLC for that original composition. And then on the master side of thing, from either your record label or the distributor. But for Sound Exchange, they're pulling from Sirius XM radio and Pandora radio, where you don't have the ability to choose or be interactive with the song that you're playing. So maybe you say, hey, I like Hayley Williams, and then they play a whole Hayley Williams collection of songs that are similar, but you're not actually choosing. So just wanted to make that distinction there, that there is a difference between the interactive side of things and then the non-interactive side of things.
Great. Next question here I have is from Juan. He says, is there a way to differentiate and collect if one song has multiple recordings or versions? So yes, you can have multiple recordings that point towards one single composition. So what this would look like is you would register the work in your catalog. So that work is the composition. And then the MLC does have an automated and manual matching process where we take the information that you give us, the metadata, and we match that to the recordings that we are sent over by the digital service providers. And those recordings should all match to that composition. We recommend that you give us as much metadata as you can during that work registration process to make sure that we can collect all of those different recordings, especially if there are alternative titles out there. We please enter those into the work registration. You can also submit the actual recordings as well during that work registration process, enter in the ISRCs. The only required fields during work registration are the work title, the writer name, and then of course the share that you're trying to collect on the work. But anything that you can include on that work will be beneficial for us during that matching process. Now, I'll also touch on something called the matching tool that's in the MLC portal. When you sign up for a member, you'll see that on your left-hand side once you get access to that portal. The matching tool is a way for you to suggest matches to the MLC. So say that you register to work and for some reason you just want to make sure that you are collecting all of your royalties. So you go to the matching tool to search for recordings that maybe didn't get matched to that work yet. And that could have happened for a multitude of reasons. Metadata is very complicated, and our match rate is really high, and it is pretty accurate, but there are cases where things get missed. So we suggest using the matching tool just to ensure that all recordings have been matched to that work. We can send you some resources. Actually, it looks like in the chat there, we have a matching tool tutorial to help you with that feature.
Awesome. Our next question is from Andrew, and he asked, what's the difference between an administrator and a publisher? That's a great question, and there is a lot of overlap between a publisher and an administrator. I would say the main difference between the two is an administrator is solely going to be focused on the data. So they are going to be making sure that all of your songs are registered at all of the various places that they need to be signed up at. They're keeping track of the revenue that's being paid out for all of those songs. So it's very data driven, and they're doing all of the admin work essentially. So as an independent artist, if you are not signed to a publisher and you just want to have someone do your admin work, there are some companies that will offer administrative deals. And then for a publisher, they are doing a lot of that admin work as well. But if you're signed to a publishing deal, there's going to be that extra added layer of connecting you with other co-writers. They're going to be working with the record labels to pitch your songs for you. They're going to be doing some more artist-writer development. So there's a little bit more of an interactive piece to being signed to a publisher instead of just having an administrator. So if you're just signed to an admin deal, they're pretty much going to be handling all of your data for you. And for example, some even big publishers will hire another company to just do their admin work. So again, the main difference is the administrator is focused mainly on just the data side of things, whereas the publisher still does that, but they have that extra interactive layer of really the development and pitching and co-writes and all of that good stuff.
Cool. Paul asked, when I search my songs on the MLC, they show up with CD Baby Publishing Administrator. Can I override this with my own publishing registered with my PRO? So Paul, if you have recently terminated your agreement with CD Baby and you have that letter of relinquishment that they provide you when that publishing is terminated, you can go ahead and reach out to our support team with that relinquishment, and we will help you get those works into your catalog. But to me, it sounds like you may not have already terminated that agreement. So that's the key there is that agreement does need to be terminated so that when you do create your member account with the MLC, that reflects your publishing agency that you have with your PRO, you can get those works transferred with no problem. We do need that relinquishment confirmation to be able to transfer those works. So when that time comes, when the effective date is reached for that termination, feel free to reach out to us and we'll be happy to help you. We can help you now as well if you need help, with any other additional questions or more specific questions on the matter.
Great. The next question is a follow-up from Andrew, and he said, is there anything I would be missing out on if a song is published with CD Baby but not with the MLC? So there are two sections to CD Baby. The first one is you can just use them as a distributor. So they're going to be putting all of your music out on the various streaming platforms. And then there's also CD Baby Pro, which you've heard us mention a little bit today, but CD Baby Pro is essentially going to be acting as your administrator. So they're going to be signing your works up with all of the various platforms that your songs need to be signed up with. And so if you're signed up with CD Baby Pro, then you don't need to register your works directly with the MLC. They will be registering your works for you, and you should be able to see that on your CD Baby statement that you're collecting royalties from the MLC if your songs are being streamed. If you are just using CD Baby as a distributor and you don't have any kind of third party as a publisher, as an administrator, then you would be missing out on the royalties that are coming from the MLC, because CD Baby as just a distributor is only going to be collecting on the sound recording / master of the works that are being put out on those streaming services.
Next question I have here is from Robin. Looks like they're asking, both me and my co-writer are registered with the same song on the MLC. I am seeing revenue, but he is not. Why would that be? So this could be a multitude of different scenarios here. So this is definitely one where I suggest reaching out to our support team. One of those scenarios could be that maybe he just recently registered the work, and we do have a payment timeline. So that 75-day payment timeline could be in effect. So he may not be seeing royalties because we have to wait for those 75 days to occur to be able to pay out those royalties to you. We have some more information on our website about the payment timeline, so we can go ahead and insert that in the chat whenever our webinar queen has a moment to do that. I suggest reaching out to our support team for that specific question.
Awesome. All right, the next question is from Rick. He asks, the MLC site calls for copyright dates of my songs, but I don't know them all. Is there a way around this copyright date on the MLC site requirement? So the copyright date actually isn't a requirement when you are registering the works, and you're only going to see this when you're registering works individually, you won't see this column on the bulk upload, but for the copyright registration date, it shouldn't be a requirement when you're registering works individually. So if you know the copyright date, that's great. You can input that. It's another great source of data. But if you don't, then it shouldn't be required. If for some reason you're having issues with registering a work and it looks like it might be related to the copyright date, I would reach out to our support team. They should be able to help you because it isn't a requirement. So if you're having issues with that, reach out to our support team for sure.
Just taking a look here. Okay. I have a question here from Eric. He says, does the MLC collect from YouTube streams as well? Both recordings as made available via CD Baby and posted song videos. Thanks. So our services set out by the Music Modernization Act, we do not collect on anything audiovisual. There is a particular service that YouTube does provide. Not entirely sure of the name of it off the top of my head, but there is a specific royalty that we do collect from YouTube. I think it's like an art track cover. So when your songs are released via your distributor to YouTube, you know how you'll go on YouTube and you'll see a song with the cover art on the song. That I believe we do collect on, but anything with a music video attached to it or a lyric video, anything like that will not fall under our domain.
Next question is from Stephanie. She says, do you know what company that does what you all do outside of the country? So international royalties can get pretty complicated because there is not one company in either Europe, Canada, Asia, places like that, that do exactly what we do. So in order to collect your international royalties, you're either going to want to sign up with an administrator such as CD Baby Pro that, you know, they are taking a percentage of what you're collecting on, but they are collecting international royalties as well. So that's something to look into. If you're not, then at least in Europe and in other places of the world, you have to be signed up in each country's specific CMO, where as in the US, the MLC is now the only designated entity to collect these royalties. That is not the same when you go to Europe and Asia and other places of the world. So that's where it gets a little bit complicated, is because you have to be signed up in each individual country unless you are using an administrator or signed to a publisher deal where they should be collecting those royalties for you. So I would say maybe look into an administrative deal, which could be CD Baby Pro, TuneCore, Songtrust, companies like that. And if not, I would do a little bit of research on the individual countries and what their collection societies are.
A question from Eric here. He says, how do I add info to an MLC song registration when more metadata later becomes available? For example, the ISRC. Eric, once that work is in your catalog, you do have the ability to make an edit to the song. Our support team would be happy to help you through that process. But all you would do is go into your catalog, select the work, and then you should see an edit button, I believe on the top right-hand side. And you can edit many different details within the work itself, including adding a recording. And submit that. It'll go into your registration history as a pending registration. And then as soon as that's approved, that ISRC will be added later on.
Sydney says, can I claim both the composer share and publisher share as a self-published / administered songwriter? So I believe what you're asking is, can I claim both the writer share and the publisher share? So the MLC is a little bit different than the PROs, where at a PRO, you're signing up as both a writer and a publisher, because a performance share gets paid out to the writer and the publisher. So they split the writer share and the publisher share. Whereas with mechanical royalties, it is only paid to the publisher share, which the publisher is then responsible for paying the writer whatever it is they're owed based on that agreement. So if you are a self-published / administered songwriter, then you will be claiming, if you wrote the song by yourself, you'd be claiming 100% of the publishing share, and then you're technically paying yourself as the writer. So the MLC doesn't split up the songwriter and publisher share. It all goes to the publishing share, and then you're then responsible for paying yourself, essentially.
Okay, I've got a question here from Travis. He says, can revenue be collected retroactive? I just registered works and the songs have been on the digital service providers for years. So yes, Travis, we do have that. You will see those on your statements, retroactive royalties. So when you first register a song with the MLC that has been on the digital service providers for many years, within those first few distributions, once the 75-day payment timeline has completed, you will start to see some reprocess royalties on your statement. So reprocess is going to date back to January of 2021. That's when we began operations. So that'll be on your statement, as well as what's called historical unmatched royalties. So historical unmatched royalties are royalties that can date back to all the way when these platforms first started. And it's all unclaimed royalties that were not paid out before the MLC was created. So you will start to see those on your statement as well. Again, just register those works with us. Wait till that 75-day payment timeline completes itself. And then on that royalty statement itself, you'll see in one of the columns there, it'll say either regular processing, reprocessing, or historical unmatched. And that's how you'll be able to distinguish the royalties there. But for more specific questions on that, when the statement does come, I do suggest reaching out to our our customer service team. And we also have a great payments team that can answer any questions specific to the statement.
All right, our next question is, does the MLC pay royalties directly to artists? Does the distributor collect them from the MLC and then pay to the artist, or does it just depend on how the song is registered? So I will make the distinction between artist and songwriter here. So as we kind of mentioned at the beginning of this webinar and a few other questions, making the distinction between the original composition and the sound recording / master. So the distributor, again, is going to be paying out on the sound recording / master. And if you are using a company like CD Baby and you're signed up for CD Baby Pro and they're acting as your publisher / administrator, then they should be registering those works directly at the MLC on your behalf and collecting those royalties for you. So if you're independent and you do not have any kind of publisher or administrator, then you can go ahead and sign those works up directly with the MLC and we will pay you directly. If you are using a distributor, but also using their publishing and administrative services, then you won't need to sign up with the MLC directly. But if you're only signed up with a distributor such as CD Baby or TuneCore or DistroKid and not using their publisher / admin services, then you won't be collecting royalties from the MLC if you're not signed up with us directly.
All right. Matt asks, is there a time limit on unclaimed songs that one could lose royalties, or does MLC hold back royalties until a song is 100% claimed through them? So Matt, I think you're referring to the market share distribution of historical unmatched royalties. That is a part of the Music Modernization Act. So when the historical unmatched royalties were transferred to the MLC, it was our job to find those rights holders to be able to pay out all those unclaimed royalties. We are still doing that, actively doing that. If you think you might have any unclaimed royalties in what some call the black box, I definitely suggest registering those works, using the matching tool to make sure your data is good there, so we can get those royalties to you. You know, part of that Music Modernization Act is that we have to hold those unclaimed royalties for up to 3 years. But you don't need to be too worried about that. We won't be doing any kind of market share distribution until at least 2024. So definitely get on that if you can, and get those works registered, and we'll get those royalties to you.
I'll also add on to that and just say a work doesn't have to be 100% claimed in order for you to receive your royalties. So if you go in and you only claim your 25% or whatever it is that you're owed, the song doesn't have to wait until it's 100% claimed in order for you to receive your 25%. So the MLC is really focused on an individual basis of you're only responsible for registering your own works and claiming your own percentage. So you shouldn't be claiming publishing on behalf of anybody else unless you have the rights to do that. But just wanted to add on to that to say that you don't have to wait until the song is 100% claimed in order to claim your own percentage. But I will jump over to this next question. Travis asks, once I became a member, I saw I have over 1,400 unclaimed songs that I wrote. Most are from TV and film placements. Will those be paid out even though they are not on DSPs? So no, in order for songs to make money from the MLC, they have to be on streaming services. So I would say if those songs are not on any kind of streaming service, then you're not going to be making any money off of them because, again, they have to be on a streaming service. They have to be played a certain amount of times in order to generate money. So if you have any more specific questions on that, reach out to our support team. But I would just say on a general basis, if the songs are not on streaming platforms, then you won't be generating any money from the MLC for those.
Great. Paul asks, when I go to my member page on the MLC, the works show zero works. If CD Baby Pro is submitting to the MLC, shouldn't they show up there? So Paul, no, CD Baby Pro actually has their own member account where they house your works. So when someone registers a work in that account, it shows up in the public search. If CD Baby Pro is your if you have a full catalog administration agreement with them, then there's no need to register your works with the MLC or sign up as a member because they're going to be doing this on your behalf.
Awesome. Rhonda says, I am not the artist, but I am the musical composition and songwriter. Do I need a PRO? So yes, I would say everybody needs a PRO. Just as we explained in the beginning, the MLC does not replace a PRO. We are collecting on different types of royalties. So the PRO is a performance royalty, whereas we are the mechanical royalty. So if you have written the musical composition and are a songwriter, then you could be missing out on a lot of royalties from any kind of live performance, streaming, anything like that. So yes, I would highly recommend that you get a PRO if you are a songwriter.
Wilhelmina asks, is it a good idea to register with the MLC before the song releases? That's totally up to you. If you are on it and you are just, want to be as proactive as you want to be, you could go for it. Go ahead and register it. That automated matching process happens on a monthly basis. So, if you have a work sitting in your catalog and it's, 3 months before the song releases, well, when the song releases, our automated matching will in theory collect that recording and attach it to your work, so you'll see those royalties. So in short, the answer is yes, you can register that work whenever you'd like.
All right, let's see here. Denise says, is MLC, BMI, Sound Exchange, all of that a self-administering songwriter needs? Or do I need to get a third party to collect some of the royalties in US and worldwide? I am not using my distributor PRO option. So it's kind of a it depends question. So if you have songs that are being streamed outside of the United States, there is potential that there could be royalties out there that you are not collecting on. So I would say, one, look into how much your songs are being streamed outside of the United States. So for within the United States, MLC, PROs, Sound Exchange, and your distributor are going to be covering a majority of the royalties that are being streamed within the United States. But for anything that is outside of the United States, again, the PROs do have partnerships with a lot of the European, Asian, Canadian markets. So you could be claiming some royalties through that partnership that the PROs have, but you could potentially be missing out on the mechanical side of things. So again, international royalties can get a bit complicated, but I would just look into the partnerships that BMI has, and you should be able to see which companies that they're pairing with and what royalties they're collecting from. And then I would also look into the CMOs of each European country if you have songs that are streamed there.
Lily asks, is there a representative who will walk me through the process of registering my works? I have been following the website directions for a couple of years and still have not been able to register a song. Lily, yes, we have many representatives that would be happy to help you through that registration process. I think explaining the process in which the MLC suggests that you go about adding works to your catalog might be helpful for a lot of people. So I can go over that a little bit right now. But Lily, for more specific assistance, definitely reach out to our representatives. We have a chat feature on our website. You can also use a contact us form, or you can even give us a call 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Central Time, Monday through Friday, and we'll be happy to help you. But in the suggested order, we suggest that you first start with the claiming tool to ensure that you are adding your claims to any works that already exist within the MLC's database. So it's possible that maybe you put out a song with a co-writer and that co-writer has already registered the song with the MLC. So the claiming tool makes it a little bit easier for our users to find that work and add their member's claim to it. And you want to do that for your entire catalog. And then any works that are not already in our database or any works that you did not find while using the claiming tool, you'll need to register that work as a new work. So you can do that one of two different options. You can do that as an individual work registration, or you can use our bulk work registration. The individual work registration is best for people who have maybe less than 50 or so works to register. It is a little bit more user-friendly. It walks you through each step, kind of. And for those just getting started, I think it's a good idea to just start there. And then there's a wizard that will walk you through each step. And then again, if you have a lot of works to register, the bulk work registration will be a great tool for you because it is a spreadsheet where you'll fill in all the information you have for the work. You'll list all of the writers and all the recordings, and of course your publisher share there. And we've got some resources on the bulk registration form on our website and on our YouTube channel that'll help you through that registration process. If you get hung up on it, the tutorial will be great, but also, again, our team will be happy to help you through that. And then that third step of, adding work to your catalog and making sure that you are collecting all of your digital audio mechanical royalties is to utilize the matching tool. So you can use the matching tool when the work has been accepted and is within your member catalog. So don't use the matching tool yet, because if you start using the matching tool, you don't have any recordings to add that, suggest that recording get matched to. So wait until you have works in your catalog. And then once those works are there, go ahead and take a look at the matching tool to see if there's any unmatched recordings that did not get matched to that work. For example, you'll search maybe your writer name or your recording artist name in the matching tool. And if anything pops up there, it means that it has not been matched to that composition or to that MLC song code. So within the matching tool, you can say, hey, MLC, this is my recording. Please match it to this work. And then you can take a look at your match history and can check on the progress of those matches. But when it's approved, you'll start seeing those royalties on your statements in the future. But I know that can be kind of a lot to take in right now to just hear all those steps laid out like that. But again, our team can help you through that process. It can be somewhat complicated as you're just a learning curve as you're getting started with us. But again, we try to make it as easy as possible for everyone to learn and to understand how to use the portal. So please reach out.
Tom says, so just to confirm, for streams of songs on Spotify that someone is choosing to play, non-radio, there should be 3 individual royalties received: PRO, MLC, and distributor for the master side. So yes, on a high level, that is correct. For interactive streaming, you should be getting both a performance and a mechanical royalty, which is going to be the PRO and MLC. And then for the master side of that recording, you should be getting that from your distributor. And again, I would highly recommend everybody check out the digital royalty landscape. It's very helpful to see all of those different companies laid out in a visual setting.
I'm seeing quite a few questions here that are pretty specific to you as the publisher or the member. So I suggest for these more specific scenarios to reach out to our support team. We only have about 5 more minutes here, so we're not going to be able to finish everyone's question or answer everyone's question here today. So please reach out. We're happy to help you.
I have a question here that says, do you need a publisher in order to collect royalties? And the answer to that would be no. If you are a self-administered songwriter, so you are not signed to a publisher, then you are considered your own publisher. So in terms of the PROs, that would mean that you're signing up as a writer and also as a publisher. And typically people will create their own publishing entity. It doesn't have to be an LLC or anything like that. But, if Nick wanted to sign up his works at a PRO, he could create Nick Williams Music. And so again, you are considered your own publisher, and same goes with the MLC, where if you have that publishing entity set up through your PRO, we recommend using that same publishing entity name as your member name with the MLC. If you don't, it's not a big deal. You can just use your name as your member name, but long story short, no, you do not need a publisher in order to collect all of these royalties.
Rhonda asks she says that she was affiliated with Harry Fox Agency. That contract is over. Can you get that information from them? So Rhonda, I suggest that you take a look at the MLC's public search. Do a search for your writer name, or search or add some more criteria to kind of get more specific with that search, and see if those works already exist in the database. Because it's most likely that you'll be able to create that member account and then add your claim to the songs that already exist there in the database.
Awesome. Toby asked, are you saying that only the compositions benefit from the use or recreation of sound recording, or both sides are due royalties? So both sides are going to be paid out if you both wrote and recorded the song. If you only wrote the song, then you're not going to be owed any royalties for the sound recording or the master because you didn't record it, and vice versa. If you recorded the song, then you're owed royalties from the sound recording and the master, but you wouldn't be owed royalties for the original composition. So it depends on if you wrote it, recorded it, or both, but both sides, no matter what, are owed royalties. It just depends on who is owed those royalties.
Toby says that they have 5 songs that are have been getting streams, and asks about if those royalties will be paid out to him, or if he is due those royalties. So Toby, it kind of follows what Raleigh was saying there about what you own on the work. So again, there's a publisher side and a there's the composition side, and then the recording side of things. It really depends on what that agreement you have set out with the other co-writers on the work. But if you own the publishing share, please affiliate or connect to collect with the MLC to collect that specific publishing share there.
Awesome. I think we have maybe time for 1 or 2 more questions. So Jewel asked, what does market share distribution mean as it pertains to collecting royalties? It was mentioned earlier. So that's a great question. The market share is in relation to all of our historical unmatched royalties. So before the MLC came into business in 2021 and started administering the blanket license, there were millions and millions and millions of dollars that had not been paid out to the correct owners, the copyright owners, because before the MLC came along, the streaming platforms were supposed to let every copyright individual know when their song was being played on their platforms. And as you can imagine, that's kind of an impossible task with the amount of music that is out there. And so copyright owners were getting upset because they weren't getting owed as much money as they were supposed to. But the streaming services were saying, this is kind of impossible for us to do. So that is a big reason why the MLC came along and said, here's this blanket license to all the streaming platforms. You're covered, so they can't be sued by individual copyright owners unless there's a voluntary license, but that's a whole other issue. But anyways, so all of that money that the streaming platforms were holding on to for all of those years because they didn't know who the correct copyright owners were, was sent to the MLC. And it's now our responsibility to pay that money out. And within the Music Modernization Act, which was passed in 2018, that designated us as this entity, we at a minimum have to hold on to that money for 3 years. And so essentially what we're trying to do is get the word out there about the MLC so everybody can come and claim their royalties for all of this money that we've been sitting on, trying to match it to the right person. A little caveat to that is we have been waiting on the Copyright Royalty Board to set the rates for what is called Phono 3. And the Copyright Royalty Board sets rates every 5 years. And they have been going back and forth with the streaming platforms for the last almost 5 years now, trying to determine what the rates were for 2018 to 2022. That was just settled a couple months ago. And so the most of the money that we've been holding on to for this historical unmatched royalties have been from that time between 2018 and then 2021 is when we went into effect. But now that that's settled, the market share distribution is for any royalties that are not going to be claimed by the time that we have to do the market share distribution. So essentially what that means is that money gets split up depending on what the market share is of all of the companies involved. So there's a lot of complications and intricacies to that, but we did put some information in the chat about the historical unmatched and Phono 3. So definitely check that out. But the market share distribution is in regards to those historically unmatched royalties, and the market share is for the percentage essentially of the different companies that are in the music industry that would be owed that money.
All right.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thanks, Riley. We are at our hour point here. So thanks everyone for joining us today. That's going to do it for today's webinar. Thanks again for joining us. We see a lot of great feedback in the comments there. So I'm glad a few of you found this helpful. And remember that our support team is here to help you. Whenever you need the assistance, please reach out. We're happy to continue helping you collecting those digital audio mechanical royalties. So everyone, thanks again for joining and have a wonderful rest of your day.